Hey guys, it's Looch, and this is a little bit longer episode of Listen to Looch. I had the chance to talk to local legend, the voice, the man, the stories, Curt Curtis A. He had an experience 49 years ago. It's the anniversary of this experience. I'd never heard this story, so I had him come in and tell me.
I had this experience, and with three other guys, we played a gig. Mm-hmm. I'm quite old. This is in 1969. We had played in, I think it was Houghton, but it might have been Marquette, and really, what's the diff? Mm-hmm. You come down almost straight. And we came into Neilsville, and I was thirsty, and the Knee-High bottling plant had a nickel machine, so we went there, but we didn't get there because as we were stopped, headed down the little road, the back road, it wasn't right on the highway. Mm-hmm. There was no freeway there then. Randy Berdahl was the drummer, and he was awake, mm-hmm. and I had recently been in a car accident, so I was awake because you don't sleep when you're in a car after a traumatic experience. But the other two guys were asleep in the back. That was Rick Clark and James Solberg. And James Solberg is relatively well known as a member of Luther Allison's Grammy Award-winning blues combo a little later on in the 70s. But at this point, he was still playing with me, or I with him. When you get to a crossroad, stop sign, whatever it is, when you get to one of those things, you stop and you look both ways. So when we looked to the left, it was overcast, but right at that moment, the sun rose. And so between the clouds and the earth, mm-hmm. in between there's a sliver. And when the sun came up, it was one of those kind of magnificent kind of deals, you know. Yeah. But also hard to look at, you know. Mm-hmm. So you're not supposed to look at it. So we both turned away. And as we did, we noticed that over to the west, there was a glint. And it was a really pronounced...
Like a flash of light, or like a beam? Like a
flash.
Okay.
Flash. And we both noticed it, and we looked at each other, and then looked back, and the way I describe it is they were the size of an inflated dime. If you took a dime, looked at it, so it's over there. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know how big they were, and I didn't know how far away it was. Mm-hmm. Once I noticed what I was looking at, which was 5 of these inflated dimes floating in the air, in those few seconds, they were completely illuminated. And, you know, it was like, what the? I don't think we said anything because we were so shocked. I just remember sort of this look. And look back, and then there's this phrase that's used, it's probably a cliche now, called missing time. Mm-hmm. And the way I experienced it was that as soon as my brain, my consciousness, realized what it was actually seeing, the whole thing, even though I was still conscious, turned into like a photograph, like a 2D. I wasn't looking at 3D anymore, mm-hmm. I was looking at 2D. But it was like the stoppage of time or something. It just was like something you'd see on the Twilight Zone.
Sure.
And I resisted, because I'm like that. And I shook it off. Mm-hmm. But after I shook it off, they weren't there anymore. And the sun had gone up past the clouds. And instead what I saw was 5 deflated footballs, but they looked black. So they're bigger and closer. And the same thing happened. I 2D, shook it off again. This time, when I opened my eyes, one of them was right on top of us. And it really frightened me.
So you were feeling fearful. I mean, it was. Did it feel
Wonderment,
Yes.
surprise, wonderment, fear.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, can I breathe? You know? And I tried to breathe, and I couldn't breathe, and all of a sudden everything went black, and I just went. Then the next thing, all four of us were standing outside the car. All the car doors were open. We had a trailer as well, a U-Haul. We're standing there. The other guys were in a straight line. And Rick Clark was next to me, and then Solberg, and then Randy. So they took the two guys in the back seat and stuck them in the middle. And we could move our eyes. And I know this because I was moving my eyes. But I couldn't move anything else. We were immobile, paralyzed, whatever you call it. Couldn't move. And these things were above us. And less than 50 feet above us. And I believe they were approximately 50 feet across. It was hard to judge because we were right under it.
Yeah.
You know, and they were still in V formation. And these things, there's 5 of them, and if they're 50 to 60 feet across, that's that. Except they have space between them. And you know, there's no noise. And they're just like this, and we're conscious. And all of us, I know, because we talked about it, we're wondering, WTF? Yeah. Like, because, you know, we all seen movies, but to actually be in one, we're standing there, and they move first. And the one furthest away is above a steeple, and they pivoted. They pivoted 90 degrees, and then they started to ascend at a 45-degree angle. You know, we're all looking at this, we're all seeing it, and it's still cloudy. So they ascend into the clouds.
Okay, so now you might be thinking, was he tripping balls when this happened? Was there other factors chemically? This is what he had to say about that.
There was this stuff at the time, lysergic acid, the LSD. I'll just say we weren't on it.
Right.
We were poor. We didn't have any of the other goodies that many kids were trying. I didn't even drink beer. I didn't smoke cigarettes. All I loved was rock and roll. It was a traumatic experience. You will ask me, I should give you a chance, it's your show, but did you see what they looked like?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, when you say they, I think people have a tendency to put their own feelings of they.
What it is.
Yeah.
And I don't even know.
No.
And that's why I think I mentioned that I don't know if it's extraterrestrials or a government guy.
When I feel like, how do I say it? When you came to all four of you, what was the discussion?
As we were driving out of town south, Rick turns to me and goes, "Weird." That's it.
Weird.
That's all that was said.
Okay.
And the other guys, I remember Jim seemed pretty intense, but he always seems intense.
Okay.
So when you have a thing like that, like I was scared, as scared can be, but there's a certain camaraderie when you're with your friends. If you're with some people, you get to share the experience somehow. You get to cut it up. I only have to worry about a quarter of what happened.
Right. This story is extraordinary, and my final question is, having had that experience, which is unique to you, and yet you shared it with, and other people have had experiences similar, but do you think you gained anything from it, like kind of a magic power?
Oh, God, no. Well, maybe.
So, there you have it. The truth is out there. You can listen to Curtis's new song, which is called Unidentifiable, and it's on the Current and on Local Current, and we've got a full transcript because it was longer than what you just saw, and we've got the full transcript, a story that's published and posted at thecurrent.org.